Hello, and thanks for joining us on this special edition Barbecue Brawl Battle Report on Tried and True. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing to the channel and keep up to date on our bat rep and podcast releases. If you'd like to support the channel directly, a link to our Patreon can be found in the video description below. Our match today was recorded using the Battleforged scenario, Feast or Famine. Welcoming to Tried and True for the first time from neighboring meta, Filthy Casuals, is Jake. Jake has brought a 100-point Legacy Exalted army led by Lord Arbiter Hexeris. Jake was unable to do his audio for this episode, but don't worry, we have a special guest filling in for him today. You may recognize his voice from our Dojo Shop Talk series, Akers Machine. Welcome to this side of the channel, Akers.
Yeah, this is everybody knows me as Akers. I play out of the Michigan meta, more in the southern part of the state. Been playing Skorne for many years, making my debut on Tried and True. Thought maybe my first debut on here would be playing in this, not narrating, but here we go. So on the Skorne side, we've got Lord Arbiter Hexeris, an Agonizer, a pair of soldiers, a Mammoth, a Razor Worm, two Optimus Marquette, two Extoller Soul Wards, an Immortal Vessel, two Paingiver Master Tormentors, 2 units of Immortals, a unit of Annihilators, and a unit of Blood Runners. And then command cards, we've got Blessing of the Gods, Careful Reconnaissance, High Alert, Infiltration, and Power Swell. So this list looks to be taking advantage of the large beast loadout of Hexeris with his Field Marshal Arc Nodes. All of his War Beasts are potential Arc Nodes here, with also the extension of being able to maximize his unit loadout with getting souls back to his Extoller Soul Wards and Marquette to be able to cast spells, upkeep things of that nature. So it looks like he's going pretty spell heavy here, so we'll see how that works out for him.
Also welcoming for the first time from the Filthy Casuals is one of Portal's tournament organizers, Dave. Dave is playing a 100-point list of Orgoth Sea Raiders led by Horruskh. Similar to Jake, Dave was unable to join us for his audio recording. I will be filling in for his audio. So let's take a look at the list. Leading the Orgoth forces is Horruskh. Dave chose Tarak Invaluable Resolve to capitalize on his high armor values and the no knockdown tough, as well as Windstorm to protect his forces against the Mammoth's guns. He brought 2 Jackals, both with the same kit of Arcnode Head, Mace, and Clawed Fists. For solos, he took 2 Groton Champions, 2 Groton Keepers, 2 Reaver Commanders, Therion Bannock, and the Mercenary solo Mulgreth. For infantry, we have 2 units of Nashers, 2 Rock Harrier Cavalry, and 2 Ulkar Axers. The objective of the list is to see if the opponent can crack the high armor and hit point values of this list before either his clock runs out or by the end of the game. For command cards, we have Blessing of the Gods, Careful Recon, Hit and Run, Power Swell, and True Inspiration. Can Horruskh secure enough resources to fuel his meat mountain of Cursebound and Sea Raiders? Can Hexeris' forces secure key objectives and deny Orgoth's supply chain? Let's get to the table and roll off. Hey Akers! How are you today? Thanks for helping us out on this recording session.
Yeah, not a problem. Obviously, it's a little unorthodox, but we're going to make it work.
And to make it even more complicated, we're going to play a Battleforged scenario. So we're filming outdoors at the Barbecue Brawl. A shout out to the NJSOB Meta for hosting a wonderful event. So we're playing the Battleforged scenario, Feast or Famine. We are at a barbecue, so we figured we would do a food-themed scenario. So a couple things, we did modify it, full disclosure. You'll see there's a bunch of objectives. The 50s are scored by 5 or more models. The 40s are scored by 4 or more models. 30s, 3 or more. And then we have 2 caches, which represent a bomb. The bomb can be picked up by either a cohort model, and we altered it to let leaders be able to do it. You'll see we have houses in the corner, and if you get the bomb to the other person's house, you win. This scenario takes place over 6 rounds. Whoever has the most points wins at that time. And then each of the scenario elements are worth a different amount of points. So the 50s are worth 4 points, 40s are worth 3, 30s are 2, and the cache is worth, aka the bomb, is worth 1. Weird terrain features, we do have the Ridge, shout out to Artie. It's a wall on one side, a hill on the other, depending on what side you're standing on. Die roll, I believe Jake went first for Skorne, so take it away, Akers.
Yeah, so looks like the first turn is going to be just kind of pretty generic. I mean, first turn's always just kind of everyone's runs at the table, postures, all of that. Obviously, we got Jake and Dave talking about terrain and probably working through this new scenario, and it's all new for everybody else. So looks like now, yep, we've got Jake running up behind that wall. It's going to be a good place to jumping off point. And then we've got, I'm sure he's going to be running the rest of his beast and units out next. Yeah, because we've got multiple objectives spread all over the place here. So we should try to cover as much real estate as possible on turn one and get into that forest and position just aggressively. So Dave's got less of a, way to get out of that corner he's in. So we're just still going here. Looks like they're still talking it out.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's a pretty common theme in this video. Them just sitting there talking.
I also forgot to mention. So we have there's 3 50s. It's hard to see now with the little force in the way, but we do have a grill in the center. That's a 50 point. This scenario is very. It feels very live in the fact that there's a lot of things you can score on. The other thing I forgot to mention, so we started scoring immediately. We didn't wait until bottom of 2, and then each player you'll see some pumpkins and pirate doubloons on the table. The pumpkins represent food, where you have to feed your army essentially at the start of your turn, and the coins represent fuel for your cohort models, so you need to fuel them as well. Once per turn, a player can cash in an additional food or fuel to give +4 speed to a warrior model or a cohort model. So you'll see our players cashing in tokens at the start of their turn and during their turn, and they accrue additional food and resources by capping the objectives without the other player contesting it.
Right. Okay. And yeah, it looks like we're still just posturing up the middle of the table.
Are you able to talk about some of the, what would you say are the biggest changes to, what do we have, Hexeris 2 on the table? How did he change from last edition?
He actually, he changed a little, considerably, obviously, from Mark 3 to Mark 4, where he lost Ashes to Ashes, which is, he was basically, his role in Mark 3 was, he was more of an anti-unit caster, where he would clear out a bunch of units with Ashes to Ashes, Black Spot, all of that. But now with him losing that spell and actually getting Stranglehold, he kind of changed to more of a control style caster with Banishing Ward, and obviously with Stranglehold, especially with his feet, being able to re-Furion a second time. He could himself theoretically cast Stranglehold 5 times with just himself, given all that's unboosted. But being able to lock down entire battle groups can be incredibly effective, especially in these style of scenarios. So he kind of changed his role to more of an anti beast brick or Jax in that regard, from the infantry role he used to have.
Very cool. Okay, so now we're at Dave's turn. At the start of his turn, Dave cashed in a coin and a pumpkin to pay for his army. He uses Precision Strike on the Reaver Commander to give his army Tactician and runs it up to the wall. He has 2 cohort models and his caster, so he only has 3 models that can move the football this game. And this is a big positioning turn for Dave. So going into this turn, in his little summary that he had sent me, he was debating whether to feat or not this turn. But because he racked Windstorm, he feels like his army is pretty well protected against, the barrage of cannons coming from the Mammoth this turn. So this is just a big occupy space. and position himself for a more effective, aggressive feat turn with Horruskh. So he moves both units of Ulker Axers to start positioning on that 50 and 40 mil for points. He has the rock carriers on each flank. They're a great cav unit. They are naturally stealth. They are flying. They have gang, crit pitch, and sitting vulture. So they're a very effective flying cav in itself is very, very good. We have our one unit of Nashers also advancing on that flank. So these units, it's a lot of meat. So the name of the list is Meat Mountain. Each of these medium infantry units have 8 boxes apiece. So it's 24 boxes per unit, 48 boxes per package, which you double that, that's 96 boxes of health that you have to chew through. And these are tough models who get tough no knockdown during Horrusk's feat turn. So it's a lot of meat. Horruskh advances, he casts Windstorm to protect his army, and he casts Invaluable Resolve on that back unit of Axers to set them up for later this game. And it's back to you.
All right, so this turn we get into some action. So it looks like we're going to have the Jake's Revenous Fury in, and then we're going to have that first activation on the far side of the table. And Jake is just kind of, like I said, trying to get as much work done as possible this turn because he knows that Horruskh didn't feat the previous turn, so he's going into the next turn looking at a feat turn. So he is trying to get as much work done here, remove as many models as possible because that's just less models he's going to have to deal with on the next turn with then Horrusk's feat with the 4-up tough and +3 armor and all that. So he's just trying to figure out a way to best get into Dave's army here, while also not just kind of giving him too much in retaliation. Because obviously with the advent of the pumpkins, the food, he can threat much farther than he normally would be able to with that +4 speed. So it looks like we've got the Master Tormentor going in here, and she is only able to get to. Well, it looks like she can get to multiple rock carriers. So she goes in. She has Thresher, so she goes in and she'll probably hit both of these rock carriers. I think though she only is able to kill one of them, and then we'll see Jake move that model back to that relative safety behind the wall. So and as we go on with this, like I said, it's what we got with Dave's models here. He's high armor, lots of boxes, as Erica kind of alluded to, and Jake, like the POWs are fairly on the infantry anyways. 12s to 13s across the board with the Annihilators. Mat 7s they're gonna be hitting almost every attack, but the damage output is gonna significantly drop off on the next turn, especially in this turn. Like he's gonna get in, probably cleat out the rest of the rock carriers on the left side here with when the Annihilators charge in over there as well. So we see that happening here, going through that tall grass. Yeah, there goes the Annihilator, and then everybody else jumps in. And the best part of this, the Annihilators clean out all of these rock carriers, and I believe he only berserks on one of his own models, and he actually makes tough. So he doesn't actually kill any of his own models for the trade-off of killing both these rock carriers and putting some chip damage onto the Axers, which I believe those Axers up front are the ones that had IR on them, right, Erica?
I think it was the rear unit that had...
the rear unit, not the front unit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they weapon?
Well, either way, they're dice off 6s with Berserk. They're probably not going to do a whole lot of damage there, but maybe a few points here and there will definitely help out later on.
Are they weapon masters too, or are they just a flat POW?
They are not. They're just basically they're Mat 7, POW 12. POW 12, they have Berserk, but they're only 5 points.
Oh, wow.
So they are a very cost-effective unit where, sure, a lot of them kill each other. As they go in, usually after they kill everything there, they kind of start berserking and killing each other. But usually they trade up into pretty much every infantry unit just because of their point cost.
Are they 2-inch or 1-inch reach?
They are 2-inch reach.
Nice.
Yeah, 2-inch reach, Mat 7, POW 12. It's pretty good stat line. Looks like also it's going to be a lot of positioning. I think Jake went pretty wide this turn too. He took a lot of the scenario elements. You'll see him move down and take that 50 mil. And I believe last turn too, at the end of his turn, Hexeris actually grabbed the bomb. So he's the one toting the bomb towards the bunker here to try to blow that up. We'll see if he passes that off at some point. But yeah, he's the one that currently has the bomb.
Yeah, we should also want to mention that. So to pick up the bomb, it is a star action. So you do need to sacrifice your regular action to be able to pick it up. But then after that, you're good to do whatever.
Okay. Can you also run with the bomb? Okay, so you can pick it up and run with it. All right, so yeah, it looks like now. Yeah, so I believe Jake actually used a food token here to get the Immortals in. Because I believe we saw him measure, and then he was out, and then had to use a food token to get the Immortals into that front unit of Akers. And again, I think because of the chip damage, and he rolled reasonably well here, so he was able to clear out a couple of them. But Dave, and we'll kind of see this throughout the course of the game, I believe rolls incredibly well on tough checks on Akers and Nashers this game. So yeah, like I said, he keeps rolling tough, and no models have been removed yet. So he's doing real. There we go. There's the first Naxer down finally after I think that was probably 3 or 4 consecutive tough checks.
Yeah, it was a lot. So, it was a lot. And then with IR stacking on top of that unit can't get knocked down. So you're saying they're tough no knockdowns. So you just have to invest even more.
Right, exactly. So yeah, armor. Yeah, your dice off 7. Yeah, with the tough no knockdown, it's pretty good. And then we've got, I think this is where, yeah, we're going to position the soldiers up here. Now this would have been a good opportunity, and I don't think Jake actually does this here, but Hexeris actually has a pretty sweet defensive skew that he can set up with the heir to soldiers having swarm, and potentially Hexeris having Ashen Veil. Also as a spell to put on the Annihilators or the Immortals. They can stack together, so we can have a pretty cool bubble of -4 to melee attacks against living models. So I don't think Jake ever puts up Ashen Veil here, or even puts up Swarm in the course of this game. That's something that can really benefit you when running Hexer, especially in a list like Dave's running, when you have a lot of living infantry. And there are Mat 7, but Mat 7 going down to, Mat, what would that be?
5,
3.
Oh, with -4, yeah.
Well, yeah, -4, because if you stack it with Ashen Veil plus Swarm, I mean, yeah, those Mat 7 models are now Mat 3. Now you need 10s to hit Annihilators. You need 8s to hit Immortals. You need, 8s to hit Soldiers.
Woof.
So, yeah, exactly. Like, you have a lot of potential there, and it's kind of a sneaky thing that most people don't put into account. And I'm sure Dave didn't rack Carnage in this game, so he really could have used that to his advantage. But as we see, the Immortals kind of killed, I think 1 or 2 axes there, made a nice little pocket, and then now he's moving up the Mammoth here. And at some point, we're gonna figure out that Jake's gonna remember that Windstorm is up, and he can't shoot any of these models. He's measuring. Yeah, he wants to kill that guy, and then I think right here is when Dave reminds him that he cannot do that because Windstorm, unfortunately. So the Mammoth again just gets to sit there and pretty much do nothing and be sad, and hopefully next time we'll have something to do. So he's just it's a great spell, and that's one of the reasons why Orgoth is as competitive as they are right now, because Windstorm is a heck of a spell. And then we've got then we over here, the Immortals are just coming over, taking space. He's positioning, taking that 50 mil, because he needs 5 models, right, to score that 50 mil, right? 5 models for a 50 millimeter
Correct.
base.
5 models for
scenario.
4 points.
Yep, 5. He'd put all 5 of those models to score that, so he's got that all taken care of. He's scoring 4 points right there. So Jake is taking a considerable scenario lead here, and then he's moving that over that Immortal Vessel for later on, and his arc notes kind of positioning for the inevitable crackback from Dave this turn, because I'm sure it's going to be he's coming.
I really like Jake's positioning here because he used his 40 millimeter really well, because he was able to position the little sandworm guy in between both the 30 and the 40 to help score.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that razor worm, like, you're never going to see that with anyone else except with Hexeris. Just because the razor worm has long leash, he has base Isle of Sight, great arc node, base Pathfinder. Like, he doesn't really have a place with any other caster except for Hexeris, and he always has been and probably always will be. Unfortunately, he is not a character.
Oh, wow, okay. He can, like, dig in and stuff, right?
He can dig in. Like I said, he's got spiny growth as an animus, so he's a pretty interesting utility beast.
Gotcha. All right, so start of Dave's turn. He pays his money and his pumpkin to feed his army. Should probably also mention, if you don't have the resource to pay for your army, you get a bunch of negative stats. So if you don't have enough food to power your warrior models, they get some negative modifiers. Same thing with the cohort models if you don't have enough fuel. So kind of what we were alluding to earlier is this is definitely going to be a feat turn for Horruskh. And with that one axe you're dead, leaving that little pocket, we see a Groton champion come up, which has Thresher. So that little pocket is just money for this model to thresh. So similar to the start of the turn, he used Precision Strike on his Reaver Commander to give Tactician, and we see a bunch of Thresher attacks going out on this unit of Immortals. Again, one of the changes from Mark III to Mark IV is 360 degree, no more front arc, so Dave's going to have to make attacks on his stuff as well. And on top of that, the champions also have Berserk, so he'll be able to trigger additional attacks off of this Thresher. So one model, a lot of output. And then do they have sidestep on top of that?
They do have sidestep on top of that. So, I mean, only on the first initial, gotcha. But yes, like they can obviously Thresher, then sidestep, and then continue the Berserk chain from their new movements. Yep.
Yes. The other rule that they have is they have Blood Drinker, so they're able to stop Berserking if, like, you don't want to just mow down friendly models. You can just tell the model to chill. So that's why he stopped making attacks after all the Immortals were dead.
Well, he would have had to have killed. He killed Annihilator, which saw it because the Immortals are constructs.
Oh, gotcha. Yes. Cool.
Yeah, he killed the last Annihilator, which was able to proc Blood Drinker there.
Gotcha. So now Dave is debating on whether he wants to use a pumpkin or not to give +4 speed to those Nashers to really dig them in deep. And he's also looking at the board where he could place Horruskh to still allow himself to play out wide and cover as much as he can with his feet. So the Nashers eat a delicious pumpkin, they get +4 speed, and they go into that model. I think there's two back there. There's a character solo, Marketh. Does that sound right?
Yeah, Marketh,
gotcha.
Yep.
So this unit comes from downtown. I think Dave had to use a Horruskh reroll on one of their attacks. That missed. So Horruskh has a passive rule on his card just called Fate Blessed, which when a friendly faction model makes an attack or damage roll, you can spend a focus to reroll it. So it's very, very good. Dave's advancing on this 50 on the top side because he wants to score it. Again, the 50s are worth 4 points. But these Annihilators, they're pretty tough. So he has to invest a bunch of attacks. And I feel like we had a bout of War Table because Dave rolled so many 4s. Oh, here we go. Like 4s back to back, even with rerolls. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to clear that completely. We do have a knocked down Annihilator that's still contesting that element. And now Dave's keeping a few units back to score his 40. And now Dave is debating how deep he wants to dig his bottom unit of rock harriers in. So he's already used a pumpkin for the turn. So they're going to be a static threat. However, he does pop the True Inspiration card on this unit. So naturally, they do not have tough. So with True Inspiration, they get tough, and now they will benefit from the no knockdown for up tough from Horrusk's feat. So he digs the cav in super deep to be able to contest everything on Jake's side of the table in preparation to stall him out.
Looks like he's got Nashers charging into that bug too. This is gonna hurt.
Yeah, this is very spicy. So the soldiers, they have Carapace naturally, correct?
Yes.
Are they pretty? And their armor, what are they? 19.
Their armor, their defense 11, armor 19.
Gotcha. They look like they have a decent amount of health for a heavy.
Yeah, I think they have like 28 boxes, somewhere around in there. So not awful.
Gotcha. Cool. So the other thing is that the sitting vulture rule, do all models benefit from that if a rock's base to base? Like, can you base the base?
Yes,
wow.
yeah. Yep, it just drops the model's defense by 1.
Gotcha, that's pretty cool. And does that stack?
No, it doesn't stack per rock carrier.
Gotcha.
No.
All right, cool. So Dave is advancing his other champion to move up to score that 30 and position it for possibly a juicy thresher later on in the game. We have a jackal. We should note all the jackals have Arcanode heads. So the really nice thing about Horruskh is he has an offensive nuke, Thunderstrike, which... Is there any difference between that and Force Hammer other than the PAL, or is the PAL the same?
Force Hammer, I would think... I'm not entirely sure, but I think it might be range 10, but it's also a POW 12 spell, where I believe Thunderstrike is range 8, POW 14.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's a much stronger slam, but it's much shorter
Gotcha.
range.
Yeah, so the jackals make great control pieces, especially how Dave's playing them wide on the flank. So let's say you really need an objective not to be contested or scored. You can use those arc nodes to help slam things out of the area. Horruskh moves up. We're casting Windstorm because that's what we do, and we are feeding this turn. So I believe Horruskh is able to get most of his army in his feet, minus, I think, 1, possibly the 2 far Nashers. So we have Fort Horruskh. Are the Keepers shield guards?
Yes,
Gotcha.
they are.
All right, so it looks like he's got a couple shield guards there, feeling pretty good at +3 arm, tough, no knockdown. And it's back to you, sir.
All right, so looks like Jake's, he's spending his tokens, his food and fuel to keep his army. He's got his spells, his fury back. And then I believe this turn is where the mammoth gets to enter the game. So we're going to see some mammoth attacks here pretty soon. He's got a bunch of stuff to clear out, obviously. The rock harriers that are kind of in his face, gumming up the works. He's got to clear them out to get make space to score those objectives again. Obviously, he scored that lower 50 on the last turn as well because Dave wasn't able to get to that to contest. So Jake has built up a pretty considerable scenario lead here, and he's activating that soldier right there. He's going to go up and just take a bite out of these birds in this Okor unit. And the other really cool thing about Hexeris, kind of coupled with the soldiers, is Hexeris has a ability, Vampiric Harvest. So every living model that is killed in his control area, he can heal 1 point of a model in his battle group. So there's a lot of like that soldier that got beat up that didn't die. We'll get the considerable amount of health back here as Jake kind of clears off a lot of these chaff units, or I guess I could say chaff units, but a lot of these units are in Hexeris' control range. So there's a lot of ways to help bring your units or beasts back online from that, especially because the soldiers also innately have snacking themselves. So they really get to recover a lot of their lost hit points on their activation. So it looks like Jake is just adding fury and swinging away and trying to chew through that Horruskh feat. He's dropped 2 birds so far. I think he's gonna go into that Ulcor, hit that guy, try to just drag him to him, I believe. But he might not be able to because the objective is sitting in between them. But just kind of putting some damage there, buttering him up a little bit for probably that second soldier to clean up afterwards. Those Ulcors are tough. Obviously they're naturally tough, but also with the armor 20 this turn because of Horuskh's feet, 4-up tough. Yeah, there's just a lot to chew through here. A lot of damage rolls you have to make, and just hope that your opponent doesn't roll that 50% to keep them around. So a lot of that Ulcor gets to survive that. Now Jake is just kind of measuring what his threats are across the board, probably possible targets for that mammoth, because he's got a wall of units in front of him that are definitely going to be barreling down on the next turn unless he puts some stuff in the way there. So he's just kind of weighing his options, seeing what we've got going on here. And I'm not entirely sure if there's anything left in front of that mammoth between him and the Ulcor, the Nashers that are up there. So, yeah, it looks like he's measuring out the mammoth.
I think Marquette's still alive back there. So he killed the...
Oh, Marquette. Yeah. Okay, so Marquette is still potentially there with souls?
Yeah.
Okay. And looks like Jake took quite a bit of time on his turn 2 as well. Looks like on the clock right now he's down to 25 minutes and change. So he's really under the gun here on activation. So hopefully he's able to speed up a little bit to get some of this, have the scenario pressure play. Oh, looks like he's throwing the Solar Soul Ward right now. That's what he's doing. He's got the Solar Soul Ward, spending souls off of that to hit these Nashers before he sends in. Yep, and here he comes.
Maybe it was Marquette that died last turn, and then that's the other solo.
Okay. The mammoth gets in there, and it's just going to put these Nashers down. Even with Horrusk's feet, and I'm not sure all of them are in his feet, but even so, your straight dice or dice plus 2, like you're gonna get through these guys pretty quick. Looks like we're just rolling some more dice, just taking these guys out. And I believe Jake, like I said, he's positioned in such a way too where that mammoth also was still contesting and potentially scoring that 30mm base right there as well. So he's definitely still killing models, but also keeping an eye on the scenario as well. So good on him for that. And we've got
I think he's rolling up shots on the mammoth.
Oh, okay. We got cannon shots now. Okay. So another would have been really nice for him to. I don't think Jake ever had a chance to really utilize it, but the mammoth his full battery rule. If he forfeits all of his gunshots, he can just make a straight devastation shot against the model hit, and it's AoE 3, so it hits. AoE 2, so it hits him and the nearest 2 enemies and throws them D6 inches away. So it's a really awesome control element as well to kind of stack on top of what Hexy 2's game plan already is. But like I said, again, with Windstorm and him having to be much closer in order to make that happen, and the fact he's had to charge in to get some work done here, the Mammoth really hasn't been able to lay down a lot of that effective gunfire with his gun this time, just because of Windstorm. So just something that could really help him in this situation, because there isn't a whole lot of models on Dave's side that are immune to being knocked down or steady or anything like that, with the exception of the unit that's IR'd, which I'm not entirely sure if any of those models are alive, but he probably, I would assume, recast it on somebody in that infantry mess.
I think one of the IR Axers died on Jake's second turn, so there's 2 remaining. I think Dave still upkept that spell on that unit. Just because he wanted to cast Windstorm and camp as much as he could, so nothing weird would happen to Horruskh.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have an interesting Hexeris assassination play pretty much at all times too. If you're able to run an arc node in there and cast 3 to 4 strangleholds plus mammoth shots. I mean, you can get some pretty interesting angles there with the arc nodes. So it looks like we're just rolling up shots here. Still just kind of plinking away at some damage on Dave's kind of front line here.
I think there's one more Nash.
Because of Windstorm. Yeah, because of Windstorm, obviously, with blast resistance plus the armor buff from Horrusk's feet. Not really getting a whole lot accomplished here. But again, Dave looks like he makes another tough check here, so that's definitely... And there's another one. So he's in true form here. You gotta love those that 4-up tough Horruskh feat.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Just because Orgoth is so prevalent in our area, like Mulgreth has just been a great merc to be able to add to a Mark IV army, just to kind of give you that flexibility into some of this tough note knockdown, because there's a lot of it right now aside from Horrusk's feat.
There are a number of tough models. And here comes the man himself. He's coming. Like I said, it looks like Hexeris is going in, hitting this rock. Ooh, looks like some rough rolls here. Needing some 6s. Misses again. Oh man, come on. Well, hits him there, boosts damage. Still didn't get him, and that Horrusk's feat is keeping that rock in there. So let's see if can Hexeris get the job done, or if he's just going to let that potentially that soldier finish up here. Do you know what they were talking about here? Is that
I think one of the Axers...
Looks like they had some unit placement.
Yep. So one of those Axers was from the other unit. So that's just them, fixing the game.
Yeah, trying to fix the board. Fix it the best they can. Gotcha. Okay. And then back to... All right, you got that bird out of there. Okay. So now Jake's gonna be able to score that 30 mil, because he has 3 solos there, him and plus the other 2 solos to score that now.
Yep, and he'll also be able to score his cash now that there's no enemy models within 3 inches of Hexeris.
Oh, really? So I didn't realize that kept scoring too every time he carried it with him.
So as long as a model has possession of the football, it scores a point. This is a very...
As long as no enemy models are within 3 inches.
You got it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, this is a very spicy scenario when it came to points. I think like both players were over 20 points by turn 3.
Right, and there is no 3-point difference, right, to win the game. It's just like turn 6, whoever has more points at the end of turn 6 wins, basically.
You got it. Or so the win conditions are caster assassination, football to the other player's house, or more points than the other person at the end of 6, and a clock, of course.
Okay. Yes.
The scenario in the packet doesn't call for clock, but we did play with one for this one. You can do whatever you want. It's those black tide, those narrative scenarios are great. We tend to tweak them.
All right, it looks like we've got that Master Tormentor charged in there, Threshered, probably not doing a whole lot of damage at dice off. 12? because of feet, so probably just doing 1 point of damage, maybe a couple points damage on his charge target. But, getting in there, contesting, just kind of being a general nuisance. And then we've got, looks like Jake is now activating that bug, and I'm sure now that he's killed enough models in Hexeris control range that he probably didn't even have to use any of Hexeris' focus to actually heal it. Because I'm sure that get a lot of the aspects back just from Vampiric Harvest. So now that bug is going to be able to activate, take out probably all of these Nashers that attacked it back, and also in the same turn being able to snack those models and heal even more. So he's probably going to be looking pretty healthy at the end of all this as well. So that's just the kind of the resilience of the heir to soldier, and like so that is I personally think the best beast in all of Skorne currently. A 12-point package for steady, sturdy carapace. It's mat 7, speed 4. It's mandibles, a POW 18 base, and its claws are chain weapons as well. So it's got a lot going
for it. And
on
top of that,
yes, and as we just saw, Jake attacked the Nasher, and they have drag. So if they hit it, they can drag the model right to them, so they can actually get in the more work with that POW 18 bite. So they are phenomenal war beasts.
And they're what, Fury 4?
They are Fury 4, yes.
It's very good.
Oh yeah, I love them. My only gripe is that they're in Exalted. I wish if they were in Western Reaches, that army would be so much better. And then, we've got Jake just kind of positioning the Immortals again, just kind of making sure that he's scoring that 50 mil, getting the sweet food and fuel tokens that he can spend later on and keeps his army going. And it looks like that's the end of the turn.
So we're back to Dave, start of the turn. He feeds a pumpkin and a coin to feed his army. And I think Dave's still down on scenario. So feat is done, and it's time to, push back and try to get points. Dave does have a significant clock lead at this point in the game, but he is going to aggressively try and take the top side of the board. And because the Mammoth is 120 mil base, it's big models like that, especially battle engines, can be easy to jam out of certain scenario pieces because of terrain and the size of the base. So that final Annihilator finally succumbs to the Ulker Axers, which clears that objective piece. We have our second unit of Axers digging in deep. So similar to what Dave did with the Rock Carriers, this is really good scenario play for Dave. He's going to dig in the Axers as deep as he can to contest Jake's rear scenario pieces and his football. Meanwhile, while attacking the Razor Worm?
Yep, Razor Worm, yes.
So this being...
Is that Ric Flair?
I don't know.
I just noticed Dave's dice tray. I feel like that's Ric Flair, but sorry, I got distracted.
No, it's okay. Anybody watching this video, if you know who that is, let us know in the comments. So he clears out the Razor Worm. I think he then reallocates some attacks on the rear soldier, just trying to put some damage in. But he is contesting Jake's side of the board. So I think at this point, Dave, he moves up his Reaver Commander. Again, that precision strike. Tactician's a battle plan is very, very good. Jackal moves up to attack this whip guy. Sorry, who is that?
The Master Tormentor.
Yes, the Master Tormentor. So that jump was so in the middle of our game, we had this like torrential, terrible downpour where we had to move everything to protect the camera, the models, and the terrain. So that's why the screen looks a little different. So what Dave did was he gave a food to that Groton champion, popped the careful reconnaissance card to give it Pathfinder, sent it all the way downtown into that unit of immortals, and between Threshers, Sidestep, and Berserk was able to completely clear that unit from that side of the board. So Dave's not going to be able to score because he doesn't have 5 models, but Jake is also running low on models he can use to score. So Dave's looking to score his 30. Again, he needs 3 models within 3. Mulgreth moves up to take the ridge. And one of the big changes to this model we talked about a little bit earlier is he has Entropic Force. So that's a 5-inch aura on that model, which inhibits healing and stops things like tough. So as you can see, that soldier's pretty beat up. So right now, Dave's in a good position. He's scoring his football, 30 of 40, and he just needs to move a few models within that 50 to secure that top objective. So this is the two of them both discussing how, what models Dave needs to move to be able to go up in points. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty interesting. It seems pretty live. I mean, you're playing table edge to table edge, and I mean, any scenario you're scoring, 20 plus points is, it's pretty interesting, especially when you don't have the element of the back and forth on the 3 plus, like you would a steamroller. So it's interesting to have different win conditions and seeing some of these, more narrative scenarios play out.
I like them. There's some great nuggets in a lot of the narrative and Battleforge scenarios. Again, we typically alter them a bit just to better suit our community. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. If players aren't trying them out, I recommend them. They're a good time. Horruskh moves up. We do some windstorm because that's what we do. We make sure we have enough models that are controlling that 40 mil in the back. And we do some scoring, and it's back to Jake.
All right, so it looks like Jake is, again, got the resources, his food and his fuel there, getting all of his army in line. And that might have been a threshold check. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
Looks
he
like
had to make a threshold on one of the soldiers. I think it had a Fury still left on it from the previous turn.
Gotcha. Looks like no frenzy happened, so we're all set and ready to go there. I mean, I also think the soldiers' threshold's like they're 9, I believe. So they're all, like I said, they're pretty hardy in all aspects. I cannot rave more about that beast. It's very good.
It's a solid beast.
Yeah, and I think this is where Dave and Jake kind of go off on a tangent how good Groton are.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he had sent in one of the champions on the mammoth just to do a charge attack to try and get some damage in on that war beast, and then he moved the keeper up in a position again to block real estate because it's really hard. It's going to be really hard for Jake to position, a huge base model with. Because what are they're 50s? Are they 50 millimeter models?
Yes. Yeah, the Grotons.
They're big boys.
And I believe at some point here we're going to find that Jake remembers that the mammoth here has bulldoze, and he's able to just kind of push that champion back a little bit so he's not contesting, or he's potentially able to get it in a little deeper to have his mammoth contest. So yeah, there we go. Mammoth slides up a little bit, gives him some space to get in on multiple models, and then that mammoth is just going to start just punching the garrote here. And we'll see how many attacks it takes this mammoth to... Yeah, there we go. And then we got Primal Rage trigger here.
That's like, what, a move and an attack?
Yep, you can make a full advance and then make an attack when he's damaged by an enemy attack.
That's really cool.
And then, yep, so the looks like Mammoth is going in, just swinging on. He's garroting, pulling up shots here.
I don't know if we mentioned it yet, but the little baby elephant behind the mammoth. Can you talk about that, Warbies?
Oh yeah, the Agonizer. So that's also a little bit of a change. That model used to be a solo, and then it got changed to a lesser war beast now. So that kind of is it's the Agonizer, and its main function is kind of to just give an armor buff by way of debuffing your opponent's models because it has gnawing pain. So when it uses that, within 8 inches of it, enemy models suffer -2 to their melee damage rolls, and that's any enemy model, warjack, beast, units, living or undead, makes no difference. So it's just really good at just kind of tagging along behind your your important pieces and keeping them in the fight much longer than they would normally be able to because of that. And also he has a really sneaky animus as well, which in some scenario play too, he has repulse. So he can just walk up and then use 2 focus and just kind of shove something out of the scenario just by just standing there. So it can be a pretty interesting utility piece in that regard. You'll certainly never see that in melee, and if you do, it will die very quickly.
So at this point in the game, Jake's clocked, and they both players decide just to play out the turn. So Jake's basically trying to clear out, but the game has ended for Orgoth victory. So yeah, we can go into some post-game thoughts. So Akers, since you play these armies and have a lot of experience, can you talk a little bit about the Skorne and Orgoth matchup in general with Mark IV?
Yeah. So this matchup in particular, Hexeris against Horruskh, can be a little tricky for the Skorne player, where Hexeris' game plan, as kind of we alluded to, is more of a spell slinging type of caster, wanting to basically get out that black spot, wanting to get out Stranglehold, putting Banishing Ward on a War Beast so that way he can't be slammed by that. We talked about the Thunder Strike. So he has some cool tools there, but in the same token, Dave is playing a lot of the cadre models and then the new Orgoth cadre. A lot of those models are spell warded just naturally. So a lot of that stuff of Jake's game plan of trying to control Dave's pieces with spells there isn't going to be all that effective. I mean, you'd love to be able to stranglehold those solos and whatnot, but you just can't because of you can't target them. So you get a little bit of an issue there. So I think it comes down to, and kind of what we alluded to a little bit earlier in the game, is you trying to use that death skew to your advantage, where you have the Ashen Veil and the Swarm, and just try to stack on that, because it looks like Dave, in the course of this game, kind of struggled to hit a little bit already with needing 6s in a lot of situations to hit those. If you turn those 6s into 8s, or even 9s in some instances, you really are going to struggle to do any real meaningful damage without any kind of real hit fixer there. So I think if Jake was able to kind of leverage that a bit more, also like just using the mammoth a bit more in the scenario would have helped a bit too. Obviously, having not being able to come in until turn 3, a little rough, but still got a decent amount of work done. Like, he killed a couple Nashers and was able to use that gun a little bit, but the mammoth gun is very powerful in this matchup, and if you're able to leverage that knockdown that can help quite a bit on equalizing a lot of that potential orgoth pressure. And then on the other side, orgoth, by near just having access to windstorm, can really shut down a lot of that output from the mammoth, and also just sheer volume of the attacks with berserk and the snacking. All of that is going to shut down some of that Jake soul economy as well. Plus, I don't think it came up much, but Horruskh and a couple of the solos, I don't think they really killed much in this game, but they have ability hellmarked, so that when they kill models, the enemy models don't generate souls ever when those models kill them. So that really can hurt Jake's kind of recursion element on trying to get those souls to, one, help Marketh cast spells, or making Hexeris more efficient on that feat. So I think the game can be fairly even, but I think in the overall of this theme force of Exalted, you're probably looking at typically like a Zakar type caster in this situation. I believe that Jake actually kind of alluded to earlier that he would have played Zakar in this matchup, but he said he didn't have the model with him at the time of the recording, so they kind of made do with what they had.
Yeah. That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, I don't. How did you see the scenario playing out? And it kind of did it go the kind of way you thought it would, as far as the scenario elements throughout the game?
I really like this scenario. I like where the objectives are placed because it's very live. So I feel like both armies at all times, even the like support units or solos, everybody was contributing somehow, whether it be moving the football or contesting or just helping to score, because you need a lot of models to be able to score those larger point objectives. In talking to both players, they both really, really enjoyed the scenario. To quote Dave, the scenario was dope. And Jake had fun with it too. He really liked how live it was. The one thing that really kind of can swing it is that +4 speed. So again, that's a call for your game club. Talk with your players. Maybe that's a rule that you don't need that rule for necessarily for as live or as fast as some armies are. Again, there's like some additional feasting rules where you roll like a D3 at the start of the game, and there's some other effects on top of that. But there's so much newness and the ridge, we wanted to dial it back a little bit so we didn't get too lost in the sauce, so to speak. But I'm a big fan of some of these Black Tide scenarios. We've played a few on the channel. I think this is our second Battleforge scenario, and there's a lot of really good nuggets in there. I think there's some really good ideas. I'm a fan of the symmetrical scenarios. I like that the objectives don't move, so that's something I really enjoy. The other thing too is even some of these narrative scenarios and smaller point games, some of the like tactics and tools that you implement in those games can transfer to Steamroller. So if you're typically a Steamroller player, and those are the scenarios that you primarily play, I would challenge you to try one of these Battleforge or narrative. It really forces you to think outside the box and creatively. And I know it's helped me in some Steamrollers where that thinking outside of the box really helped me with staying live in scenario or seeing things that I might not have seen without practicing it on this kind of table. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. But Akers, thank you so much for coming on and helping us out. This almost became a lost episode, you guys. We do have a few of those in the vault. I really didn't want to lose this one because it was a lot of fun, the rain, and yeah, this one had a lot of characters. So I really appreciate you coming on and helping us out.
Yeah, no, it was. I had a lot of fun. It was great. Like I said, it kind of just invigorates me a little bit to try to open up some of these scenarios and play a few of them. And hey, maybe at some point I can get on the channel and actually be playing one of these games.
Yeah, definitely.
One of these
I think you're coming to Nova. We'll have Yep. So we're hoping to film there. Andy and I will be at Siege Invitational next week. I'm not sure when this battle report's going up, but we will be at Siege. But we're looking to get some on the show battle reports because we love to have players from outside of our immediate area on the channel. So yeah, most definitely. Thank you to the Filthy Casual Meta for coming out and doing an episode with us. All right. Well, I think that's it. Any closing thoughts or remarks?
Nope. Just again, I appreciate you letting me come on and talk to the game, and I'm sure the players had a heck of a time. It looked like a lot of fun, and I'm sure the event, though you guys got poured out a little bit, it looks like, but I'm sure it was a heck of a time. So. It looks like a lot of fun. So I'm ready and prepped for Nova. So I'll see you guys there.
All right, we'll see you there. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you would like to check out some additional content, including the original video and audio of our battle reports to support the channel, please click our Patreon link in the video description below. If there are any factions, warcasters, or warlocks you would like to see on the channel, please let us know in the comments. And as always, see you on the next tried and true battle report.